So yes, I guess we are live. Yes, so we are live, Victor. Hello,
Hey.
everyone. Very good evening. Hi,
Hello.
Victor.
Hey, Sanjay.
We'll wait for a couple of minutes and then.
Yeah, sure.
Victor, did you get my echo?
No, I can hear you fine.
Okay. Good. Hello, friends. Hi, Bhagya. Can you guys just confirm, like, if you can hear us well and the voice and everything is clear, like no echo or anything?
Yeah, everything fine from your
Awesome.
side?
Yeah, all good. Looks like.
Super. Perfect.
Great. Thank you, Dilip. Thank you, Nitin. Yep. Thanks all for joining. Perfect. So, perfect. Great. We'll wait for another 1 2 minutes and then we'll start. We are just waiting for people to join, and I'm pretty much sure this event is going to be very worth and it will be a great fun. Victor will be presenting us today all the features of Playwright and how it is going to be like comparable, the features, good features, and the features which are better than Selenium or Selenium. The comparison between, as you can read the title of this webinar, that tilting the scale of browser automation. So both the Seleniums and Playwright is there. Playwright is, I'm sure pretty much most of you are aware that it's a new automation framework or tool, you can say, provided by Microsoft. And more information, of course, Victor will give on this. And Selenium has been there for a long time, and it's a like really good tool. I have worked personally on it.
Sure.
Around 4 years back, when I used to do the automation, I used to do a lot of Selenium automation scripting and all those stuff. So that was like really good, and of course the one of the best tool out there in the market ever for web automation. But yeah, now things are getting changed, and amazing tools like Cypress, Playwright, every day like some or other stuff is keep coming in picture, and
Sure.
they all are like really nice. Just that like depends on like whichever feature and what the requirement we have as per the application. So this is going to be like really good fun. Great. I guess we can start, Victor. So let me quickly set the agenda and the introduction for Victor. First of all, thank you so much, Victor, for joining us today and helping everyone, the Selectors Hub community, and everyone with your insightful view and expertise on automation and Playwright. People are definitely going to be get benefited from today's event, and this will really help us to add some skills and to know more about Playwright.
Perfect.
Friends, those who are new, let me tell you that Victor is the founder of Testopic, and he has a great experience in automation and testing. He will you can gain a lot of knowledge. If you have any kind of question, feel free to put in the chat. After the presentation, Victor will help you with all your queries on Selenium, Playwright. Mostly, like I would really recommend you, as this is a Playwright webinar, so please ask anything related to Playwright. If you have any kind of query related to automation or anything, feel free to put in the chat. And if anything for me, of course, I'm always here to help you guys. So with that, Victor, I will hand over to you, and stage is yours. Please take it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sanjay, for this very nice presentation. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm Victor, as Sanjay said. Have you shared the screen, Sanjay, yet? Ah, perfect. Okay, so we also have this nice. So as the title says, today we are gonna weigh our option when it comes to automation. It's gonna be mainly about Selenium and Playwright. But first, let me tell you just a couple of words about me. So I'm Victor. I'm a tester and educator. I've been a tester for 10 years now. I also did test management and also did some development in my past. And lately, I've started creating and educating others. So I've created a YouTube channel, which is called Testopic, as Sanjay mentioned. So my motto is technical testing for the non-technical tester. So if you want to join and subscribe, just get over there. And I just want to mention, even though maybe some of the things we will say may look bad for Selenium, I do love Selenium WebDriver. I've been using it for a lot of time. And yeah, let's get on with it. So on today's agenda, we are going to have a Playwright overview, so an introduction. We are going to have a short demo, the requirements, installation, and we are going to see a simple script. And we are going to weigh our options between Selenium and Playwright. And we are also going to see some advanced features of Playwright. And at the end, we are going to have, of course, a Q&A. So let's start. Playwright in a nutshell. So a quick introduction about Playwright. So Playwright is a Node.js library made for browser automation. You may have heard about Node.js. It's JavaScript on the server side, let's say. It's simple to install, so we are going to do it together. Playwright is free, it's open source, and it's backed up by Microsoft. So the team that works on Playwright currently actually works for Microsoft. The team is mostly browser engineers, so you can be sure they have a lot of experience. Also because they used to work for Google, which means they brought their experience with them. And they used to work for Google at a different automation tool. Maybe you heard about it. It's called Puppeteer. They are very responsive with tickets. So they currently have a triage time of less than 48 hours. Tickets, this means usually GitHub. So if you have any changes to propose to them or any new features for Playwright, just open a new ticket on GitHub /Microsoft/Playwright, and they will answer it in less than 48 hours. They've already addressed more than 1,800 issues since the beginning of the project. And Playwright began about 1 year ago, so it's fairly fresh. So a lot of issues already resolved. Now, to install Playwright, we just need to install Node. I'm going to do that right now. So just give me a second. I hope you can see my screen. For this, I want to take the steps step by step because it's fairly easy. We are going to go to nodejs.org and I'm going to download Node.js. Once it's downloaded, I'm going to install it. It's a very easy installation. It's a next installation, as I like to call it. So not too much hassle here. I already read the license agreement, so don't worry. It's fine. Okay, next, as I mentioned. So it's going to be installed, no problem. Then we are going, once Node is installed, I have to mention that I already installed code editor on my machine. You can even use Notepad for this. I use a code editor because it does syntax highlighting. So it's a little bit nicer to see. So Node has finished installing. Let's open up the code editor. And now I'm going to install Playwright. You don't necessarily, you can do this in any terminal. I have a terminal in my Visual Studio Code here. So in order to install Playwright, I've already created a folder, which is called Playwright Tilting the Balance. And I just opened that folder from my Visual Studio Code. Now, in order to install Playwright, we just have to write npm I Playwright. And it's going to take a bit of time because it's installing Playwright, and then it's also downloading all the required browsers. So if we okay, so we will see the browsers once we run the test. So back to our presentation here. So what we saw the code editor, which was Visual Studio Code, which was already installed. We installed Node from nodejs.org. We installed Playwright using npm I Playwright, and we installed the browsers, but it was done behind the scenes, so it was very easy, right? Next, let's quickly record a script. So back to our code editor. I'm going to record a script using the Playwright code generation tool. For this, I'm going to run npx Playwright code gen and press enter. This will start two things. One is the Playwright inspector, and the other is a browser. These, of course, are things that can be configured. So you can see the Playwright inspector here and the browser here. We are going to do a short script on Wikipedia. So whenever I do an action on the browser side here, you are going to see some things changing in the Playwright inspector. It is generating the code which reflects what we are doing on the browser side. So let's go to wikipedia.org, let's say. And as you can see, we already have a new action here, await page go to wikipedia.org. Let's click some things here. Let's say the English article, and today's feature articles. Let's choose this rock martin because it's a nice little bird. And so as you can see, Playwright has recorded all of our clicks on the right-hand side. It can record it actually records in multiple languages, all the languages that it has available. So in our case, we will work with JavaScript, but you can choose whatever language you prefer. So I copied all the code here, and I'm just gonna create a new file here. We'll call it, let's say, test.js, and JS stands for JavaScript, and I'm gonna paste this code here. Excellent. We can actually, let me save this one, and we can stop the browser and the inspector, and we can already run this. So if I run node test.js, we should see exactly what we did before. So the browser has started, it went to Wikipedia, and it was pretty quick, so we couldn't see that much, but we'll come back to this in a jiffy, so don't worry. So what did we see? We created a new file called test.js. We generated some automation code using npx Playwright codegen, and you can use the website at the end if you want. Otherwise, you just have to write it in the browser header. And we ran our automation code using node test.js. Simple, right? Next, let's edit the script. So, for example, one of the things that you might want, which was very, let's say, automatic for us, is to change the selectors that Playwright uses. Selectors are the things that most of the automation libraries out there use to talk to the actual HTML or the actual web page. So this is a selector here, text equals English. This is another selector here, text equals Rock Martin. So Playwright does its best to generate selectors, but of course a specialized tool like Sanjay's SelectorsHub will do better. So if we go to wikipedia.com and we go to English, and let's say we need to find the selector for this link here, we would just have to open up developer tools and go to oh, it's very cramped, sorry. Okay, where is it? Elements, sorry, and we know, okay, SelectorsHub, this is it. And if we select the element from the list here, Rock Martin, then we are going to see a nice different selector made for us by SelectorsHub. If we copy it, we can paste it here, no problem. SelectorsHub generated a selector using the small tilde. We can change this by generating with double quotes. And let's copy this again and undo and paste again. Perfect. Now we have no problem. Now, because the test closed very quickly, I think I would like to also see a screenshot just to make sure that it actually ended up where we wanted it to end up. So for this, it's very simple. We just have to await page.screenshot, and we can give it a quick, we have to give the screenshot a name. So path, let's say wiki screen.png. And if we run this test, saved. If we run again, we should see a nice screenshot being generated by Playwright at the end. Let's take a look at it. Perfect. So it's after it did all the actions here, it took the screenshot and saved it where we gave it this path. So let's take a look at this small script for just a bit and understand what Playwright does. I want to catch your attention towards these first three lines of code here. So first, Playwright launches the browser. Then it launches a new context, which we are going to talk about in the following slides. And then it starts the new page. Afterwards, on that page, it navigates to wikipedia.org. It clicked the English language selector, let's say, element. And then it clicked the Rock Martin link, and it took the screenshot, and it then closed everything at the end. So quite straightforward, right? Exactly what we did in the inspector. Let's go back to our presentation. So what did we see? We used an XPath with SelectorsHub. We took a screenshot using page.screenshot and the path to the screenshot. And we used the code inspector. Now you understand what Playwright is. And I promised you we were going to weigh our options. This means we are going to compare it with Selenium, right? We are going to use this handy scale here, and we'll see which one weighs more. We are going to start from the official browser support. because I think this is one of the most important things for an automation library, to be able to support multiple browsers, because most of the end-to-end tests today need to be cross-browser. Yep. So Playwright supports 3 browser engines. This is Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. Now, are these only 3 browsers? No, these are 3 browser engines. This means that using these, we can expand to more browsers, because, for example, Chromium is behind Chrome, Edge, and Opera. Firefox, of course, is behind Mozilla Firefox, and WebKit is behind Apple Safari. Now, for Selenium, we have 6 browsers: Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Internet Explorer, Opera, and Safari. Now we clearly see that Internet Explorer is a bonus here that Playwright does not support. So in this case, if we weigh our options, Internet Explorer, even though it won't be supported by Microsoft too much, so I think in 2022 they will stop releasing support for Internet Explorer, but until then, this one goes to Selenium. So good going. Now, languages. So you saw me writing the code in JavaScript just now, but you can use a number of languages with Playwright: Java, Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, and C#. Now, Selenium also officially supports, it's very important, we just took the official languages. Now, both of these also have unofficial languages, but we won't get into those. Selenium also supports Java, Python, JavaScript as well, C#, and also has Ruby. So we have 2 differences in this case. Playwright supports TypeScript, Selenium supports Ruby. Now, TypeScript, I would say, is not, it's almost like JavaScript, so I won't take it into consideration. I will just take Ruby into consideration. So when it comes to weighing, again, Selenium weighs more in this side. Now, let's take a look at the basic web interactions. Basic web interactions means the things you can do using the, let's say, the WebDriver API or the Playwright API. You are going to see that these are very similar. For example, in order to get the handle of an element, in order for you to use it later on in your test or your script, in Playwright, you do page $ and the locator of the element, while in Selenium, you do driver.findElementBy. Now, the Playwright code here is in JavaScript. Playwright is different, or it kind of goes into an idiomatic way of handling each language binding. So, for example, in Java, it's going to be a bit different, even though it's Playwright. So then you have the actions. For Playwright, you have element click. For Selenium, you have element click, type versus send keys, fill with nothing versus clear, and select option index 1 versus select by index 1. What I'm trying to show you is they are very similar when it comes to basic actions, right? When you retrieve data, you have element inner text. On Selenium, you have element get text. Element is enabled, element is enabled. This one is the same. Element is visible, element is displayed. So all the actions that you would find in Playwright are extremely similar to the actions you would find in Selenium. And that's because they have been modeled around what an actual user can do using the browser, right? And we are just talking about basic web interactions for now. So when it comes to web interactions, they have similar capabilities, and there are no changes in weighing. Now, other things Playwright does comparably well with Selenium. User simulation fidelity. When I say this, for example, in Selenium 1, I've worked with Selenium 1 long time ago. The click used to be a triggering of the event, of the JavaScript event inside the page. This meant that Selenium 1 could click elements that a normal user couldn't click just by triggering that event. So they've of course changed that strategy. That strategy, I think, is still used by Cypress, but other than that, most of the automation tools out there have abandoned this strategy. And nowadays, it's much more like a user. So they both get points for user simulation fidelity. Then we have supportive test runners. You have test runner like TestNG, JUnit for Selenium Java, but of course you have WebDriver IO, which is kind of the JavaScript port of Selenium, which also supports Mocha, Jest. And for Playwright, of course, you have Mocha, Jest for JavaScript, or TestNG or JUnit if you use the Java version. They even have their own test runner called Playwright Test, I think. So they both get points for this. CI/CD integration, it already goes without saying that an automation tool nowadays cannot do without having the ability to be integrated into a continuous integration pipeline. They both get points in this direction. Parallel execution, of course, this is a major thing that was introduced in both of the tools, so both can do parallel execution, and it's more related to the test runner actually, but basically there are no major things that block you from doing that. Record and playback tools, maybe you know Selenium IDE. It's a Chrome extension which you can use to record Selenium tests very easily, and then you can copy the code exactly as we did with Playwright. So again, they both get the points in this category. Test authoring speed is the kind of how hard it is to write tests in one versus the other. I think they both do an amazing job at this as well, so I gave them both points for this. So if we take our scales again, we both give an example, an equal number of points, so no changes again. Now, when it comes to speed, this is a major thing that Playwright has done, I think, better. It was designed from the beginning with efficiency in mind. This means we saw a glimpse of that just a moment ago. So, for example, one of the expensive things in a test is starting a browser. I've seen tens, maybe hundreds of Selenium suites until now in my professional life, and most of them had a before test, after test, in which in the before test you would open the browser, and after test you would close the browser. Now Playwright offers the context as an alternative. You saw the three things that we discussed on the code before. So you first launch the browser, then you launch the context, then you launch the page. You can see context as it's very similar to when you open the incognito window in your Chrome browser. What I'm saying is that you can have, let's say, two instances of Chrome, the normal browser and the incognito window. The incognito window won't share sessions with the normal browser. That's the same with contexts. So if you open up 10 contexts, they will belong to the same browser, but they will be completely independent, completely separate. They won't discuss with each other. So it's expensive to start the browser the first time, but it's very cheap to start contexts, as many contexts as you need, right? So coming back to what I said before, to the before test, you could create a new context in the before test and tear down that context in the tear down method. Okay, and Playwright also is better at communicating with the browser. They use WebSockets, I think Selenium 4 also goes into that with the latest developments, which is a very good idea. So Selenium, as I mentioned, on the Selenium side, the first thing is WebDriver is an HTTP communication protocol, so they kind of prioritize clarity over speed. And you also need to start the browser multiple times. So in this case, Playwright, I think, does things better. The other thing, I've looked a lot. I've searched the existing material out there to find if anybody has actually tested the same suite of tests against Playwright and Selenium. And luckily, we have something like this, and we are gonna check it right now. This is a quick case study, let's say. So the guys are called Checkly, and they compare the performance of a number of browser automation libraries, and they also included Playwright and WebDriver IO. So they ran a simple login test. I think they have around 4 end-to-end tests in this suite, but they ran that repeatedly, so maybe 100 times, right? So that they know the results are real. So these are the kind of the results, and I want to attract your attention towards the bottom of the table. So kind of Playwright was the best. They tested 5 automation libraries, and Selenium was 20% slower than Playwright. Now, I will also show you the other tools, but they are not very important for this presentation. So we had Puppeteer. As you can see, Playwright and Puppeteer are very close when it comes to speed, because they have the same, I think Playwright was forked from Puppeteer. And DevTools is a different communications protocol, and Cypress was the slowest. So if we weigh the speed, I think Playwright does a better job at this compared to Selenium. Next, community and commercial support. This is a very important thing when it comes to testing. Testers are continuous learners, and it's very important to have support. On the Playwright side, we have fast release cycles. We have lots of breaking changes. For example, they just released the official version, or actually the first stable release of C# language binding last week. And it came with a lot of breaking changes. This means that if you upgrade, and you should upgrade, you will have to change your code just because of this upgrade. So this means to have a fast release cycle. Of course, this has a lot of positive impact, but not when it comes to I don't know, maintenance. Community behind Playwright is mainly developers for now, but I'm hoping we can increase the testers behind Playwright so that we can have nice things as well, right? Main sources of documentation for Playwright are, of course, its official documentation, playwright.dev/docs. Its Slack channel, which is very active. If you want to be up to date with Playwright, I recommend this as the main source of documentation. And of course, GitHub, if you have a problem or a change request, just raise an issue. And as I mentioned, the guys will address it in usually less than 48 hours. Now, on the other hand, we have Selenium WebDriver, which you'll see is kind of at the opposite side of the spectrum. It's very widely adopted, which means it has a slow release cycle, which means it usually offers stable releases. So you will have less maintenance as part of its releases. There's a lots of community support for Selenium. There's lots of learning materials, lots of courses already, lots of tutorials. So a lot of things to learn. And the community behind it is mainly testers, which means a lot, of course. And then there's the commercial side, which means that lots of companies already offer compatible infrastructure and grids for Selenium, which of course helps when you want to scale up your tests. So in the speed department, in the community department, Selenium also gets this badge of honor. Waiting. Waiting is also a very important part of automation libraries, I think. It's for Selenium, I think it was always a weak spot. You have, I hope nobody here uses fixed waits. So they are no. Whenever you see thread sleep, go and tell that person to change it or remove it forever. For Selenium, other than fixed waits, you have implicit waits, explicit waits, and fluent waits. Now, explicit waits and fluent waits are nice. They work fine, but they are really cumbersome to code because they add a lot of code. They're very verbose. Implicit waits are used, but Simon Stewart, the creator of Selenium, always mentioned that they are discouraged. If possible, he says, keep it at 0 or as low as possible. When you combine implicit waits with explicit waits, then it's a whole mess up there. So don't do it. On the other side, in Playwright, it's like you have a working version of implicit waits. So Playwright checks a lot of things before actually doing or raising timeout. It has a global timeout of 30 seconds. I think it's by default. And whenever you ask it to click, it's gonna wait for an element to be attached, visible, stable, make sure it can receive events, and make sure it's enabled. Now, it's a different matrix, as you can see, for each of the actions it does. But the main thing to remember here is that the guys were very careful with waiting because they know this is one of the major pain points of automation. So on the waiting side, of course, Playwright gets the badge and starts to tilt the balance. But wait, there's more. So more excellent features on the side of Playwright. So these are, I think, these will come maybe in an advanced session of Playwright. There are a lot, and we really don't have time in 40 minutes or not even 1 hour. I don't think 2 hours to talk about all of these. I'll just cover these very quickly. So one of the things is shadow DOM piercing. Shadow DOM, if you've encountered it before in your professional life, you know what a headache it is to interact with it from Selenium. Well, if you use SelectorsHub and Playwright, there will be no problem with this because they both have
support each other.
Yes, exactly. They have excellent support for
Shadow DOM.
Shadow DOM. Yeah.
In fact, like people used to say Shadow DOM. Whenever Shadow DOM comes, it's like nightmare.
Yes, it is. It is like an ugly shadow that comes for you in the night. Exactly.
Yeah. First of all, like verifying selectors, then handling them, like how to write the script at all. Yeah. And if you don't have the knowledge of JavaScript, it's become like really impossible for people.
True. That's why SelectorsHub is a really amazing tool. Then you have network interception and mocking because of the way Playwright communicates with all the browser engines. It can do network interception, which means that you can actually change a request even before it ends up in the browser, and it's eventually verified by your test or by Playwright. You have excellent iframe support. It's easy to manage, easy to switch from one another. Then it's very easy to record videos of your test. You just add a small line when creating your context, and when at the end of the test, you will have a video with everything that happened during the test, and you will be able to see and debug easily. Let's say if you're running your script somewhere on a server, you just can download that video and check why everything went wrong. You can reuse authentication state. This is a very cool one. For example, if you have a difficult login procedure, you can do it once. You can save the logged in state, and you can reuse it the next time you need to have that user logged in. So without doing the complicated actions, you just give it the state. It's already logged in, so you will have a logged in user without doing any actions beforehand. You have custom selector engines. When I say selector engines, for example, Selenium 4 did a good job with the relative locators, left, right, top, bottom, close. That in Playwright is just another custom selector engine. So you have a lot of selector engines in Playwright. You can even write your own. That's the custom part of it. You can do emulation. You can emulate browsers, devices, location, mobile devices. So a lot of options here in the emulation side. You can do very easy browser and tab management. Indeed, Selenium 4 came with this improvement as well. It was very hard before to do the tab management in the browser. Even now, it's a bit easier, but it's not compared to what Playwright can do. You have the code generator, which you saw, and that code generator, hold on to your seats, also doubles down as a code inspector and debugger, so we can actually see each line as it's being executed in that inspector, and it's actually shows you exactly where it's gonna click on the element. So all these excellent features mostly go to Playwright. And
wow.
you thought Selenium was gonna win, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
it's good to see.
Yeah.
Maybe like with Selenium 4, some of it start tilting towards this side, or maybe balance.
Yeah. Definitely Selenium 4 brought a couple of balances to the
Yes.
equation. If it weren't for Selenium 4, it would be even worse.
Yeah.
So even though I talked so many nice things about Playwright, I encourage you to be very wise about tooling. Be very wise and analyze your context. How much each of these categories weigh is based on your own context. So it depends on where you work, what kind of team you have. If you already have a tool, an existing tool, you need to consider the cost of migration, because again, we are not just using tools. We have to make sure that the quality is good. So always ask yourself the important questions: what languages does your team use? What's the existing team expertise? And what are the characteristics of your system under test? That's very important as well. So I'm Victor, as I mentioned before. If you want this presentation, just drop me an email. I'll send you a PDF with the slides. My email is on the left-hand side here, victor@testopic.com. And again, you can follow me on Twitter, or you can subscribe on YouTube. And I also have this website, testopic.com, with a Playwright newsletter. If you're interested to find news about Playwright, just go there and drop your email. And this concludes our presentation. I'm not even sure how long it was. And it's Q&A time. So guys.
Yeah. That was awesome, Victor. That was awesome. And
excellent.
yeah. So maybe the PDF of the presentation, we will add the link here in the description of this video.
Sure.
This recording will be available on the channel, on SelectorsHub channel. So on the same channel, anytime guys you can watch it. So yeah, the questions time, Q&A time. Keep coming your questions, and so let's start with the very first questions. Victor, you can see on the screen the very first questions coming from Bhagya. Does it follow any framework?
So framework is an interesting word in testing, I think. So you can if you're talking about patterns, you can use all the patterns with Playwright, or like page object or screenplay or actions. It's kind of, you can create a framework for your system under test, let's say, using Playwright and eventually using a test runner. Maybe you also need a reporter and other specific things that come with test automation, right?
Yeah, thank you. Another great comment from Martin. Playwright is much faster than Selenium. So yeah, even I experienced that from your stats and the way it was launching. So that was good.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the e-context concept. Yeah, that was
Me
good.
too. Yeah, that's true. That's very nice.
Yeah. So another question is from Kiprian.
Yeah.
How about Safari and Edge browser? So does it support? I guess he is asking for. Does it support Safari and Edge browsers?
Yes, of course. So Safari has behind it WebKit. So kind of through WebKit you can talk to Safari, and through Chromium you can talk to Edge, because actually Microsoft,
Edge is Chromium based.
Exactly. Microsoft scraped the engine that they use for Internet Explorer completely, and they just moved towards Chromium.
This I cannot doubt actually. Like if they will not support Edge, because Playwright and Edge are like father. They're the same father.
Sure. Exactly.
Okay. Bhagya, how can we integrate with other tools like TestNG, Cucumber, etc.?
That's a very nice question. So, of course, I showed you Playwright JavaScript, but you can use Playwright Java. It's the same as you would do with Selenium. So, for example, if you use Maven, you would put your dependency. You would need Playwright. You would need TestNG, and then you would have the normal TestNG annotations like before, after, and so on and so forth. So you would also get the normal TestNG reports and so on and so forth. Cucumber, there's a nice Cucumber integration made by Tali Barak. I can send you the link, and we can put it in the comments below after the presentation. You can of course you can integrate with Cucumber, but she did it for you in a very elegant way, so you can just download the example from there.
Great. Awesome. Another question from Kiprian. BDD end-to-end scenarios, Gherkin integration, is it a Cucumber sum process?
That's a good one. Cucumber sum. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned before, Cucumber is easy to integrate because Tally did an amazing job with the integration. So no, it's gonna be as straightforward as you are used to in Selenium.
Good. We have another question from Abhishek. How does it stand in parallel test setup?
Cool. That's a very good question again. So usually parallelization is more about the test runner than it is about the library actually doing the automation. So in our case, it's more about TestNG than it is about Selenium, or it's more about Mocha than it is about Playwright. So They are the guys from Playwright are working on a test runner, which is called a Playwright Test. It's both based on Folio, I think. It's the name of the library that they based their test runner on. And of course, it's going to support parallelization, no problem.
Good. Yeah, that's good. Swaraj, from Swaraj, we have this question: how can we handle ignore certificate errors? I guess this is a good question, technical question.
Yeah, sure. Very, very good question. So there's actually by default, Playwright will start the browser with ignoring HTTPS errors. I can
I see.
yeah. It also has, if you want to, let's say, cancel this default, when you start your context, you have loads of settings there, out of which one of is something like ignore HTTPS errors or something like this. And this will do exactly what you said.
Good. Good to know that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Victor. Another question: can we upgrade our existing protractor framework with Playwright? This,
Well,
I'm
first
sure,
of
like
all,
very many people will be asking.
you need to abandon Protractor, which is sad because it will be support will stop in or has stopped. I don't know. It was very recent.
Yeah, no, I guess it has been stopped. I read some tweets sometime back and got the news of this. Yeah, not very much sure, but yeah.
And so upgrading, there's no upgrade script directly, sadly. You will have to do something. Maybe I think it's going to be a lot of work. I would have to see exactly your test suite to recommend something. So, but basically, it's going to be an actual migration. You will have to do it at some point anyway.
Thanks, Victor. Yeah. Another question we have from Abhishek: are the other languages wrapper on top of JavaScript? How does other languages fit into architecture? Would there be difference in speed between languages? Yeah.
Oh, nice question. So, nice couple of questions.
Actually, three questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So, wrapper on top of JavaScript, we have TypeScript for Playwright.
Yes.
That's basically it. You don't have anything else yet. Now, other languages into architecture, of course, the guys at Playwright are trying to be as idiomatic as possible. So they always go with the language. So if you're comfortable in a language, you won't, for example, I showed you that dollar at the beginning of the presentation. And the dollar is something very specific to JavaScript, and people that used to work or ever worked with JavaScript definitely have came around the dollar sign, because it means something for JavaScript users. It kind of always meant, I think, because of Ajax. Whatever. So in the same dollar in Java, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be something like find element by selector. I forget the exact command. Also, in Python, you can have you've seen me use the awaits in JavaScript because that's an asynchronous model following JavaScript. But if you go with Python, for example, you can choose both asynchronous and synchronous. So, of course, there would be changes, architectural changes, when changing the languages. Would there be differences in speed between languages? That's a good question. I would say yes, but they would be very, very small, mostly unimportant.
Yeah. Mostly like ignore.
Yeah,
Tough to
ignore.
measure.
Sure.
It's like what is the performance? Which one is faster, XPath or CSS selector?
Exactly. Exactly. The answer is we don't care.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like really good questions from Abhishek. Yeah, it clear, like I'm sure like pretty much everybody might be having these kind of questions, so it will help everyone.
Yeah.
Another questions: does Playwright support UI and API tests alongside?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would recommend to use Playwright for what it has been created for UI. And if you want to also mingle some API tests, go towards an API library. So in your framework, you would have, let's say you choose Java. So you would have Maven, TestNG, Playwright, and Rest Assured specifically for API. So whenever you need to do a verification or interaction with API, you would use Rest Assured, and then maybe check things in the front end using Playwright. So they can live together.
Perfect. Can Playwright wait for stale elements before clicking?
Yeah, it has a couple of it has a couple of explicit waiting mechanisms as well. And one of these is definitely stale. Yeah.
Great. In Selenium, we write a script and execute. In Playwright, it generates code automatically. Is it something like Selenium ID in Selenium? So same thing I
Yes.
guess we have in Playwright. Yeah. Please elaborate.
So yeah, it's in Selenium. You can write your scripts or record them and then execute them. In Playwright again, you can write your scripts or record them and then execute them. So they both have this kind of automatic
Capability.
code generation capability. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. This was fun. More excellent feature section is like ice on cake.
True.
It's like buy three and get five free deal.
Yeah. Sure. I like that.
So you got some awesome comments.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I really love the presentation. I really like that. Yeah, that was
Thank
really
you
good.
very
Yeah.
much. Thank you
That
very much.
balance was tilting here and there. That was like really cool animation. Amazing. So
Cool.
yeah,
Very cool.
so we have the question from Ankro
Mm-hmm.
Training.
Mm-hmm.
Licensing details, please. Yeah. So
Sure.
is there any licensing for Playwright?
No, you can fork the code, copy the code, change the code. It's completely free and it's completely open source. I don't know the name of the exact license, but it's one of the MIT or open licenses.
Great, thanks. So we have another question from Amol. Does it support container-based deployments?
Yeah, definitely. So you can already find if you're using Docker uh, as an example of a container, you already have recipes for Playwright Dockerized containers. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, great demo from Victor.
Thank you very much,
Indeed,
Amal.
it's amazing. Another question: what is the stability with C# binding?
This is a good question because it was bad. It was bad until 1 week ago. So
Oh wow,
yeah. It was bad because they were still working on it and they didn't have, let's say, an official release. It was still in beta. But now they released the first stable version, so you should be expecting much more stable releases coming from now on.
awesome. Good to know that. Yeah. Catalog. How about mobile browser? Does it support mobile browser?
So they have some experimental work going on with something called Electron, which you can use to build websites and mobile applications and so on and so forth. You can also use it through ADB, so you can use it to control your browser. But frankly speaking, it's something that I haven't tried yet, so I wouldn't be able to say for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's easy. Yeah, do it.
But yes, so I believe like Selenium. Means even I haven't tried this one, but I'm sure this must be there because what happens like many a times we most of the time we used to test the mobile website like m dot and then whatever
Yeah,
is the domain name. So
yeah,
something similar must be there. And in Selenium, like in Selenium, we can open the mobile. I mean the same browser by adding some capabilities for the browsers. Sometime back, like around 5 years back, I did this. So there was a small capability that which we have to add in the code. So same, I'm pretty much sure that it must be having. If
yeah,
not, they
yeah.
will for sure they will add it.
No, no. Of
Yeah,
course, you can simulate a mobile browser on your desktop. That's
yeah,
very easy.
yeah. I
You just
mean,
have,
like in
yeah,
DevTools, you know that there is a small mobile icon. You click on then
exactly,
and then. So same that has a capability like in Chrome. So yeah,
exactly.
it must be there. Another question. Could you please explain which frameworks or libraries can we use to get test report?
Sure. So, of course, for basic reporting, you can use TestNG or JUnit reports directly. And for more advanced reporting, maybe get a nicer report library. Again, this is not strictly related to Playwright. It's more related to the test runner. And even after the test runner has generated a nice XML report, which is maybe um, parsable by multiple tools. So you can parse it with Jenkins, and it's gonna show you something, or in a nice graphical way. And if you parse it with a different tool, it's gonna show it to you differently, even though it's the same XML output. So it's you have lots of options out there.
Great. Can we use with spec flow?
Um, I haven't used it to be honest with SpecFlow, but I think I remember guys that have already used it with SpecFlow. Yes. So my answer would be 90% yes.
Great. Does it work only on Node.js or we can use Eclipse IDE?
It works in Eclipse. If you are used to Eclipse, you can take the Java version and, as I mentioned, install it, use it with Maven and the tools that you are already used to. If you want, you can if you guys want, I just want to show you something really quickly. I'm sorry I haven't shown it to you. Can I quickly share my screen
Yeah.
again?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is here.
So, it's already shared. Oh, nice. So you have this website here, try.playwright.tech. And here you can actually see how it looks, for example, in Java, right? So this is my test in Java. Actually, this is actually my test yesterday. I was doing some experiments with starting a new context, with using different contexts compared to different browsers, and just doing some speed testing. And but for example, if you switch to, actually you were interested in Java, you want to, let's say, screenshot for on Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit, then this is your method here. And if you run it, it's gonna show you your output on the right. So you won't actually need to install anything to try Playwright, right? You can just get into this website quickly and start writing your code, and it's gonna tell you the output. So as you can see, it has it went to what'smyuseragent.org, and it did a screenshot, but it did this for all the browser engines. So we have Mozilla, we have Apple WebKit, and Chrome. I think the first one is probably Chrome. Yeah. So go ahead and try Playwright on try.playwright.tech. It's actually a website made by one of the guys from Playwright, and it's really cool.
Great stuff. Yeah. So also like I would like to add one point here on this question. So generally like the editors which we use for any kind of framework, that mostly used to depend on what in which language you are writing your automation framework. So API Playwright, you can consider it as like you are using an API with whether that API you want to use it in Java. So then you go with the Java editors. If you are using it on JS, then go with the JS editors. I guess that will
Exactly.
be a pretty simple one.
Sure.
Is it possible to evaluate expression during debugging in VS Code with Playwright Node.js? It's annoying to restart all the tests to try one single line. So basically, I guess he's asking for like, is debugger feature is there in VS
Yeah.
Code with Playwright?
No, definitely. Yeah. So you can stop the running, or just click on the small breakpoint, put it there in your code, and you are gonna see Playwright stop exactly where you stopped it in the website. And then in the website, you can open up developer tools and start evaluating um, like selectors, and you even have a Playwright context in your website, so you can actually see exactly what Playwright sees in your website directly. So it's kind of like a server side client side communication between the browser and your Visual Studio Code, so you can do debugging from both sides in this case.
Oh, that's good. That's good. What about the stealth plugin for Playwright?
Um, I, um, I I I tried a bit. I think it's just it's not supported officially. There was a stealth plugin for Puppeteer, if I remember correctly. So I think you're getting into a gray zone using the stealth plugin for now. Yeah.
Good. Is it possible to compare icons PDF in web page using Playwright? Will it support the file upload functionality directly, or we need some third-party tool?
So you have the option to compare images. I don't think you can compare PDFs, but I'm sure there are a lot of libraries there. It supports file upload directly without the need of any other third-party tool. So you just put the URL to your or the path to the file that you want to upload, and then it's simple.
Good. Can can you give an example of the status transfer you mentioned in login? Does this mean recreating the previous operation faster or bypassing it completely? Complex matter. So example can be small.
Yeah. So we would have to go into the code, but basically so what this means is you you do the actions once. So you log in, complex action, whatever, you do everything, you set up a state, and then you save it at the end of this complex number of actions. You save it, and once you saved it, it's a small file. You can copy it, or maybe in the next test just open it, and it's like you did all the actions that you did before, but without actually doing the actions. Sorry. So the next test that would need to use the state would just like have only one command, load state, and that's it.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Victor. Thank you. Another one, the last question we have, will it work for rendered stuff elements which are part of Salesforce related worksheets?
It depends on where they are rendered, I guess. If they are rendered in a canvas, for example, you are gonna see a different type of interaction with the canvas. Exactly, it's more about coordinates rather
Yeah,
than
we cannot write the selectors for them. Yeah.
exactly. It's because the canvas, it's not an actual DOM.
DOM. Yeah.
It's something else. So
So
let me
anything
think about.
basically like which is part of your DOM that you can access.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great. This is the good comment for you, Victor, and me as well. Both are awesome and kind. Thanks for giving answers, sharing your knowledge, and educating us. All the best. Thank you so much, guys. And if you have any more questions, so yeah, we are already running out of time.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful session, and so this is basically like this was a new idea which I was thinking that starting a knowledge sharing program on this platform. So like this was a great session, and I'm so thankful to Victor, and we will keep sharing the knowledge here. And this is everything, like you all know that SelectorsHub community is absolutely free and being supported by the community and running with all of your support. So keep supporting, guys, and we'll have more sessions in upcoming future. So subscribe to the channel. All the details about like the Victors, you can connect with Victor on uh, LinkedIn. You can follow him. The link of his profile is given in the description of this video. This recording will be available on this channel, YouTube, SelectorsHub YouTube channel. And for anything, you can reach out. If you have any question, follow Victor related to Playwright. He will be more than happy, and he will answer all your queries. And once again, thank you so much for joining, everyone. It was great and wonderful session.
Thank you very much, guys.
And thank you once again, Victor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Sanjay, for having me. Have a good one.
With that, thank you so much, guys, and have a great weekend ahead. Be safe.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.